Okay. Hi, everybody. Hopefully you all can see me and you can hear me. We are going live tonight. It always takes me at least one more minute than I think to type in that title that everybody asks for at the beginning, what we're seeing or whatever. So it always takes me a minute extra. Sorry about that. We are starting right now at 9 p.m. for our broadcast tonight for Arts Integration PD in celebration of Arts and Education Week. Yay, we are so excited to do that. So as you come on board, feel free to say hi, ask any questions that you have. But tonight, we're super excited to kind of talk about the new Every Child Achieves Act that is going through Congress right now. And I was so incredibly honored that Americans for the Arts asked me to write a piece about this week on their blog salon, and it's going to be featured on Friday. But in the meantime, I wanted to kind of give you an overview of some of the things that are coming up and some of the changes. So let's just kind of start from the beginning, give a little history, and then talk about what's actually going on. So the Every Child Achieves Act is part of the revitalization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which actually was first brought to life in 1965, believe it or not. It's been quite a long journey. And that was the first time that we really had a law about what should be included in education. And it was really meant for equity. And one of the major overhauls that most of us remember was the No Child Left Behind Act. In fact, many of us still reference that because that's what we're really operating under at this point. Even with Common Core, even with all of the changes and upheaval that we've seen with education in the last 8 to 10 years, we are still operating under the No Child Left Behind law that was signed into place in Congress back in 2002. So it's been about 14 years since anything has been altered. And what folks have been doing is a patch, somewhat of a patch job that's been going on. And so it's time, it's really time that we kind of take a look at this and revitalize it a bit. So that's what's going on with Every Child Achieves Act. That's what they're calling it. And it's right now, it has passed through the Senate and it has also passed through the House. But interestingly enough, there are two different laws. Or they're two different bills, I should say. They're not laws yet. They haven't been signed into law, but there are two different bills going on right now. So there are some differences in the two of them. And this fall, they're going to be debating them in Congress to kind of come up with one resolution to be able to send to the president to hopefully get that signed and update the ESEA law that's currently on the books. So a couple of key things about the differences about the two bills. The one in the Senate actually has the arts as listed as core subjects, very similar to the No Child Left Behind Act, because back in 2002, it was a major win for the arts that the arts were labeled as a core subject, which of course we know that they are. So the Senate bill retains that, but it wasn't without some really big fighting going on from our arts organizations and local community members. The first draft did not include the arts as a core subject area. And after a lot of advocating, that was put back into the Senate bill. The House bill does not contain that language. So I think if we go back and take a look at the post from Monday on Americans for the Arts with who did that? Was it Bob Morrison? I think it was Bob Morrison who talked about the differences between the two bills. I highly encourage you to go back and take a look at that just so that you can kind of see how both sides are approaching this. Essentially, though, they want to get a bill to the president that the president will sign. So there's going to be some compromises. That's one key thing that we're going to want to watch for the arts aspect to ensure that that language is still in the new bill so that arts remain as a core content area, course subject area in that language. Another thing that's really important about the new Every Child Achieves Act is the shifting implementation back to the state's piece that's going into that language. And this is fairly similar between the two bills that are currently being discussed. So we all know that with the educational changes of the last several years, accountability has been a huge piece of that. Different states have tried to put different things into play in terms of how teachers are evaluated, accountability systems and testing and what that looks like, what's fair, what's not fair. There was a lot that was kind of connected to Common Core, that their states were incentivized to think about new ways of evaluating teachers. And unfortunately, that has kind of been a mess. Let's just be honest about it. It's been a mess. So one of the things that the new Every Child Achieves Act does is it shifts the implementation of curriculum and evaluation systems back to the states. So they essentially say, whatever's going to work for your teachers, for the students in your populations, for the schools that you have, you get to pick that. You and your community get to come together and decide what is going to work best for you. We as the federal government are going to stay out of that, which actually has a lot of promise for us as arts educators. And let me explain why. As part of that language, they talk about the acceptable models of testing, because no matter what, testing isn't going to go away completely. I mean, as much as we talk about the value or lack thereof of testing and the validity of testing, the cold hard truth is it's not going away. But with this new bill that is being introduced, there is some different language in there about how we can test our students and what that might look like. So they even go as far as to suggest that testing should or could include portfolios, projects, extended projects, and presentations. So performances and presentations. So what that means for us as arts educators is that really what we do and how we work through that creative process is going to be able to be included as a type of assessment. Not to say that we're going to evaluate all teachers because now, we can kind of get a test score for a performance. No. This provides some opportunities for our students to show that what they know rather than just paper and pencil test. So that's really positive. The other positive side of that, at least from my perspective as an arts integration specialist, is that so often classroom teachers or administrators or even arts educators are nervous about integrating the Common Core subject areas with the arts out of fear because of testing, because they feel like it's not teaching what our kids are going to be evaluated on, what our school is going to be evaluated on, what we as teachers are going to be evaluated on. So we're going to put that aside and push that off until we have some extra time in our schedule. But now that there is this language that talks about assessment being inclusive of portfolios and performances, extended projects, things that really showcase our students over time, the arts can really bring a lot of value to those content areas, which we always do, but it's easier for that content area to see how the arts might be beneficial. And so it almost acts as an advocacy tool. Not that we can replace arts education with arts integration, but it does make a more natural fit for some people, and it allows them to think about assessments and testing a little differently and how you might use what students have learned in arts education classes to help with things like portfolios. That makes so much sense for us in the arts anyway. So those are the big pieces that are changing, or that are at least a little different in the new Every Child Achieve Act bills that are currently being discussed in Congress. Remember, it's the idea of shifting implementation back to the states so that it's not a federally mandated piece anymore, but truly reflective of your state and your community. And there's the new testing piece that also includes portfolios, performances, and extended projects, which allows for the arts to really kind of showcase and shine what we do over time. Certainly a lot of things that are still up in the air, things to discuss, but it's really interesting to see how far we have come in this conversation. We have a long way to go. We are by no means out of the woods yet. We still need advocacy, which is why this week is so incredibly important. And I want to leave you tonight with the idea that even though we have a National Arts in Education Week, which is so important for advocacy and celebration, it can't just stop at this week. We need to be vigilant. We need to be advocates for our students and for what they deserve as a part of their educational fabric. And we can all do that together all year long. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. Remember, this Periscope is being recorded, so it will be up live on educationcloset.com next Tuesday, so you can always find it over there. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can always contact us at Education Closet, or you can contact me directly, Susan at educationcloset.com. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with me tonight, and I look forward to next week's Periscope PD. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.